Welcome back, everybody. This is the last session of week 4. We are almost halfway done. How time flies. Let's see. Let's recap where we left off. We have this week created a some user interface. So we worked on the timer that counts down from 60 seconds. We also made sure that when we run through the goal, we don't get a score, but if the ball goes through the goal, it does score. And the whistle thing, I don't think I shared my sound, but we added a cool little whistle sound. And there we go. All right. So that is where we left off. Now, obviously, before we're done with the course, we're going to have something that looks a lot nicer than just 22 and or 20 seconds and two, because if you're just playing this game, you might not know what that means. You could probably figure it out that that's a timer and that's the number of goals you've scored, but we'll add more to our user interface to make that a little more intuitive. Now, I know that some of you have told me some of the games that you really enjoy playing, and I thought about how every 3D game where we control a character, there's almost always a speed boost. So whether that's in Minecraft or Roblox, Call of Duty, obviously sports games like NBA 2K or Madden, um, all of those games have a speed boost that allows our character to go a little bit faster for a short period of time. And that's what we're going to work on today. So for those who are on a PC or your computer, go ahead and find your third person character blueprint, which should be in this folder right here, third person, and then blueprint. Open that up. Okay. And I'm going to, okay, it's already docked for me. So you might see something that looks like this. This is all your joystick and camera stuff. So we don't need to worry about that. Let's find a space outside of all this main stuff where we can start to do some work. So I'm just going to find an empty space here in my what we call a graph, I guess because it looks like graph paper. Not sure why they called it that. So let's think about this logistically. Okay, so we obviously need to press a button, right, to initiate the speed boost. A lot of times it's using the left shift key, right, if you're playing on a PC or a Mac game, and then I believe it's the left thumbstick press down and move forward, which I always found a little tricky, is generally used in console games. But we're just going to stick with the keyboard. So we're going to need to know also what our regular speed is, and then we're going to have to know what our faster speed is. And we'll probably want a cooldown as well. So if you've noticed, when we played the game, our character already does move at a consistent speed. There's really no way to go faster or any way to go slower. They move at this speed. So there is something in our blueprint and our template somewhere that already has this speed that we're already running. Okay, and that is called the character movement component, and it's going to be over here. Remember, we have in a blueprint, we have all these kind of components. Like right now, we have a player, and we also have a camera. And as part of this template, if I move this down, we also see that we have a movement component. And we're going to talk about that in just a few. But let's go ahead back to your event graph and let's create a couple of variables. And I already did these, so let me delete them so we can recreate them together. Okay, so we're going to create 3 variables. First one is going to be regular speed. And this and all of the 3 that we're going to create today are float variables, so they're numbers. Okay. And then let's call the next one fast speed. So we'll click there, fast speed. And then the last one is going to be called cool down. So we'll call this cool down. And we'll compile, right, and save. Remember, I told you a couple weeks ago, you're going to hear that a lot. Compile, save, compile, save. All right, now let's go back to this component over here. And also you'll note that all your variables are usually set to 0. Okay. So if we look at this character movement, this is a very, very powerful component when we're dealing with a player, because we're going to be able to change the speed of the player, but not just the speed. You can also do things like change how high they can jump, or how much they weigh, or how much gravity affects the character. So if you've ever played games where you can jump really super high in the air and you kind of float, that's the gravity scale being changed. You can even change what kind of surface or like an incline that your character can walk on. So, for instance, unless you're Spider-Man, if you walk up to something that has a 90 degree from where you are, you can't walk on it because you would be upside down and you would fall back to Earth. But you can say how much of an angle you can walk on before you start to fall backwards. So this is a very, very powerful component. And we're going to use this in our very first thing, which is to, oh, my bad. So this is where we're going to find the speed is going to be in here somewhere. And rather than just kind of keep scrolling down, I know for a fact this is called max walk speed. And for Unreal Engine movement, basically your character moving is always called walk speed, even if they are going the speed of light. So don't worry about the word walk. That's just how they say it. Even if they're running, we refer to it as max walk speed. So for instance, if I were to change this to 100 and compile, save, and play, look at how slow my character moves. So we're going to go back here, change it back to 600, which is the default. And for our regular speed, let's click on that and change that value to 600. And for you, if you're working along, it was probably 0. Again, because I went through this exercise earlier today, I guess it kept my values here. So we're going to say the regular speed is 600. All right. Now let's right click in our graph, and we want to get a reference to the left shift key. That is typically the key that's next to the Z key on the keyboard. So I'm just going to type left shift key, and we're going to get this one right here. And I'll zoom in. Okay, so let's get a reference to our character movement. Just drag that out here because we're going to need that. And from here, I want to set the fast speed. So I'm going to type set fast speed, and there's our variable. Okay. And then the fast speed, I'm going to drag this into here and say get fast speed. Look those two up. Okay. And then we also need to right click and do max walk speed, uncheck context sensitive. We want to set max walk speed. Okay. Actually, we're going to hook this up to this one and hook this one up to, we'll actually delete that one. Okay. So I know that was a little confusing. Let me go through it again. So what we wanted was to right click here and type max walk speed. These are parts of the character movement component, and then we wanted to set the max walk speed. Okay, so the target of this will be the character movement component, which we dragged in. Okay, so I'll compile, actually close that, 0. That's usually what it is. Compile and save. I'm going to press play. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to hit the shift key. And I stopped. Actually, I'm skating a little bit. Okay. Which is okay because what happened is we did not set the fast speed. So if the regular speed is 600, I'm going to say, okay, well, I want us to run 10 times that fast when we press the shift key. So I'm going to type 6,000. Compile, save. Okay. And we'll press play. I'll run a little bit, and now I'm going to hit the shift key. And whoa, boy, that is fast. So that's not very realistic. But it does work, right? Okay, I'm letting go the shift key. Do you see what's happening? I just continue to go fast. So there's no cooldown, there's no reset. As soon as I hit the go really fast button, that's all there is to it. I can't go back, there's no cooldown. And so obviously that's not very realistic or fun. So we need to be able to deactivate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say when we let go of this key, we want to go back to our normal speed. Okay, so I can just take this right here, which is where we're setting our speed. I can Control C and Control V, copy and paste. I'll get another character movement guy, bring that over here. Okay, and now for here, instead of using fast speed, I want it to go back to my regular speed. So I'll just drag in there, get. So you'll notice a lot with your variables, it's going to be getting and setting variables. Do I need to see what the current value is? Do I need to set a new value? So you'll almost always be getting or setting a particular variable. For instance, you might want to say, for like we did with our goals, right? We want to say get however many goals we have now. Let's say we've scored 2. And then we want to add 1 and set that to be the new score if we just got another goal. So that's an example of getting and setting in the same code block. So let's hook this up. Compile, save, and I'm going to press shift, go really fast. I'm going to let go of shift. And we go back to our regular speed. Okay, so let me go back here. We're getting, oh, we got to make sure to hook that up to the released key. So let me just go through that again. So we hooked it up to the release key. So when we press it, we do the max. And when we release it, we go back to normal. And let's just test that out again. And sometimes it is good to have really crazy values when you're testing stuff. That way you know that, hey, it is working even if we need to test it. So I'll release the key and it goes back. I'll hit it and it goes there. I'll release it. So this is all good. Okay. But we still have one more problem. And that is when we press it and hold it down, we can still just kind of run all over the place. There's no penalty for just spamming it, as we say, or holding it down. So we need to create some kind of way where you can use the speed boost, right? But you can only use it for a little bit. So let's think about uh, some other games that have kind of boost, short-term boost, and things like that. And if you have any, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I like to think about role-playing games, and let's say you're a wizard and you have your regular spells, but you might have like a super powerful spell that just obliterates all the bad guys. Usually, when you would cast that, you're only going to be able to do that once, and then it's going to have like a timer that goes down, like maybe it's 30 seconds or it's 60 seconds before you can use that really high powered ability again. So we do see that a lot in games, especially with things that have higher power. In the sports games, for instance, the usually players have a stamina meter, and they can only sprint so for so much time before they lose stamina. Boxing games, the same way. You have your very powerful haymaker punches, but that drains your stamina, and then you have to build up the stamina again before you can do that punch. All right, so that is the concept we are going to do here, and that is going to be in our cooldown variable. So what we want to do here is to say, okay, once I use this speed boost, when should it, or for how long should it last before it runs out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from here, add a delay. And I'm going to hook this up, my cooldown, to that duration. So again, we're getting the cooldown. And the cooldown I'm going to set to be 2 seconds. Okay, compile, save. And so if you're following along, think about what you would expect to happen here. So I'm going to go press play. I'm going to use my super speed boost, and notice that even though we added a delay, nothing is really happening. And the reason that is because what we did not do is to say, what should we do after our cooldown, after 2 seconds? And what we want to do is simply say, we want the player to return to the normal regular speed. So we're going to copy this again. Control C. I think you can right click. Yeah, copy. You can also right click and copy. We'll go over here, and Unreal does a pretty good job of figuring out where you want to paste it. I think it pastes it right where your mouse cursor is. And we want to say, after the cooldown, the 2 seconds, we want to return to our regular speed. So we'll drag this guy out here, get regular speed. And one more character movement, dude. Okay. Compile and save. And now, even if I keep pressing the shift key, after 2 seconds, it should return to my normal speed. So let's see. Yep. I'll do that again. Run here, hold down shift, we speed boost, and then we stop. So that is working just as we wanted it to. In fact, let's see, did we lose somebody here in the chat? Overwatch is Diva. Okay, thanks, Mark. Sorry, Net just now got to that. Okay, there is Eden back again. Okay, so that is character movement. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of recap and we're going to do a little tweaking. So, couple things that I want you to remember about today's session is the importance of this character movement where we can change all kind of things. If you have a character that can fly like Superman, or you can have a character that can swim underwater, you can set all of that here in the character component. Another thing that we learned is that you can copy and paste nodes easily. So we could just go say Control C, and go down, go up here, paste. So that way we did a good amount of code right here, but a lot of it was copy and paste. Okay. And let's tweak the settings. So, and the regular speed is good. That's the regular Unreal Engine speed. I think the boost speed is way too much. So I would say this should probably be like 1200. That might not be fast enough, but we'll compile and save it. I'll press play. We'll run, do a quick little boost. Yeah, that feels a lot more like it. And another tweak is I want to say that this cooldown, I think, which is basically how long the boost lasts. I'm going to make this be maybe 1.25. Okay. So that we've done a little gameplay tweaking. And now the last part is just like we've been doing, I want us to kind of format our code a little bit so that everything looks good. So make sure everything has some space to breathe. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't want, gibberish like this. Okay. Do that. And then for this one down here, we can move it up a little bit. And let's, again, we'll select these three guys. We'll press C and say, and you don't have to say this, you can say anything you want, but I'm going to say return to normal speed when key is released. Once we get it in that comment box, it'll all move together. And just for fun, I like to pick fun little colors. I'll make that one kind of a hot pink. Up here is the sprint boost feature. Give that a little color. Do a little purple on that. Okay. And then over here, we'll drag this over here and we'll call this cool down to prevent spamming boost. Okay, move that over here. Give that a little color. I should not do this so fast. So when I did the C for the comment, okay, you can also have just use a couple little fun things. Maybe you want this to be smaller. And we'll do, for this one, we'll do maybe a lighter background. All right. So we now have, after our last session of week 4, let's review what we've got. We have a timer. We have a boost feature where the player can burst just for a second and a half, I think. We have a thing at the bottom, which will, did that ball? I don't know where that ball went. We have a thing at the bottom, which will count the number of goals we've scored. We have an audio effect. We had some fun with blueprints where we showed the different parts of a component. Like this one changes, throws you up in the air. It has a nice little visual effect. We have some basic AI dummies that just kind of throw you around if you run into them. We have a platform. So maybe you didn't want to make a soccer game. Maybe you want to do something more like a Super Mario type or platformer game. We showed how to do that. And we also have quite a number of blueprints. We have our realistic ball. We have a prop here. We talked about how if you change in the master blueprint, for instance, the material, or maybe you could even change the size. Let's say we want these tables to be longer. We can compile and save, and it'll change all the ones in our level automatically without having us have to edit every single one. All right, so that is that for the end of week 4. Let's stop recording and see if you guys have any questions. Mark, London, Eden, anything?
No, I think I'm all caught up because I
Okay.
was behind last week, but I think I'm all caught up.
Okay, awesome, London. And we also have the updated project file as of yesterday's session is in Slack if you need access to that. And all right, well, otherwise, as always, I'll be on Slack for until 5 o'clock Pacific. So if you have any questions or just let me know. All right. Thanks for the note, Eden. All right. I will see you guys. Have a fabulous 4th of July and a fabulous happy birthday, London. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.